Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Dateline Downtown's podcast. I'm Ted Shull. I'm your host today. I'm here with Joshua Burgman, my co-host.
Hello.
And we're here with John Locke, Student Body President.
Hello, how's it going?
And this is a special election edition for SGA, for University of Houston Downtown. The debates were last Thursday, and we just wanted to clarify a few things. And I want to make two opening statements before we begin. Howe is not here today, the other candidate for president. He was invited to the podcast by two different editors of Dateline Downtown to clarify some statements made at the debates, but we have not gotten a response. And I also want to clarify that our podcast is in a conversational format where opinions may be expressed. With that, we'll get started. John, why don't you tell us why you deserve a second term and what you plan on accomplishing during that term?
Well, I believe I deserve a second term to continue doing what we've been doing for the students, is advocating for the students and creating services and identifying needs within the university and working with administration to make that a reality for the students. For example, the daycare initiative that is spearheaded by the Veteran Services, which we are assisting them and working with them in collaboration with the Houston Food Bank. Another initiative, well, this one's actually, we actually completed this one, is create a tuition advisory committee that consists of students and administration, where, administration, we actually have a conversation with them before they try to raise our tuition and make sure that if they're raising our tuition, it's for merited grounds and that there's going to be a benefit for the students.
So I hear what you're saying, the things that you've done are a lot of initiatives that you guys have already implemented. But let's talk about the debate a little bit. Can we do that? Okay. I was not at the debate, but I saw a lot of videos from the debate. And what I got from it is that Howe wasn't really informed about the daily job of the president of SGA. And I'd like for you to tell us a little bit about that, like what you do on a daily basis to help the students of UHD.
Yes, I'd love to. One of our main functions, main function as a president is to speak and to be kind of a face of the students and to be able to represent those students. Another main thing that consists of most of my day is talking with administration, working with administration, brainstorming about the needs of the students. And that's something that maybe lost on a lot of people, that a lot of our interactions are with administration and trying to implement the ideas and initiatives for the students is looking and taking a look at our school and say, okay, what is a barrier for a student when they come to UHD? How can we improve a student's experience when they come to UHD? And one of those things which we took very seriously this year was the food options initiative. We surveyed students and asked them, are you happy with the food options here? What would you like to see? What are some things that are important? And definitely, we do understand that we are a minority serving institution and that health disparities are high amongst minorities. So I believe it's irresponsible for our food options that the only healthy food you can get is a $10 cup of salad. I think we have a responsibility as a learning institution to be able to teach and to promote healthy eating and a healthy lifestyle, especially since we serve a minority population.
So during the debate, there was a lot of talk about, touching our minority population. During the debate, there was a lot of talk about the homeless and the poor that are around the school. I feel that with UHD being in a major metropolitan city, right in the heart of downtown, that is kind of unavoidable. The fact that we have homeless that come onto our campus every once in a while. I'm on campus every day, and I'm sure I see them, but they don't bother me. And so to me, it's not a huge issue that I feel I would want SGA to be like, oh, let's get rid of all the homeless people which I thought that was a little sad to be said during the debate. But like, how do you feel that information is necessary? Knowing the demographic or the layout of the surrounding city, that the university is in. How do you feel that's important to being SGA president?
So that's a very interesting topic, and I've definitely championed for the homeless. One thing we need to get clear: we're a public institution. We cannot stop people from coming into school. Now, if they're people that look suspicious and they're sleeping or laying down, honestly, I don't see many homeless people literally in the school. The concerns I hear from students are like homeless people outside of school, like coming from like the parking lot, and that being concerned. And two, I like to look at problems and issues as opportunities. UHD as adopted to their QEP, the community engagement. This is a learning opportunity for the students, learning about different populations in the city and in our country of people that go through different issues. Now, one stereotype, which I really hope to be able to break this, is that all homeless people are just drunk, drug-using criminals, which is just not true. There's so many different factors that go into people being homeless. Like we have people that grow out of foster care and that have nothing, nowhere to go. They have no resources or anything, and they end up homeless. We have veterans that are homeless that fought for our country and came back to not having the resources they thought they would have, or dealing with mental health issues that are not being taken care of. I mean, there's so many different factors. One thing that you've done with this, the homeless count. Yeah. And during the homeless count, I remember a lady in a hospital gown with her bags, with their traveling bags or whatever. And they was asking her, what's wrong? Why are you walking out here? And they had canceled her. She had cancer, and her insurance had stopped, so she had to leave the hospital, and she was homeless. I heard
so many stories like that. I heard so many stories just like that, same exact story, during the homeless count. Like, it was always people that were sick or ill and were in the hospital. When they got out, they had absolutely no place to go. Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
I just want to make a statement. During the debates, I brought this up, that some of our students were in fact homeless and started out here, wandered into school, and by a twist of fate enrolled in classes and are now excelling beyond anything they could have imagined. And I think that UHD's goal as an active learning institution plays a big part in that. And I think that that's an untapped reservoir there. We have people coming in, like you said, that are not necessarily criminals, but are the victims of circumstances. And I got kind of a disturbing response from Hal when I asked what he would do to advocate for these people. And his only statement was that he would send them to career services.
Yeah. So, I mean, as you know, one of the another initiative that this is the second year going is the Precariously Housed Student Scholarship. And in that, we ask students that find themselves precariously housed to send us their story, and we'll have a committee review them and award scholarships to a few of those students. And when you read these stories, when you really read these stories and you get an idea of the type of things students are going through on campus, it's really touching. And a lot of people, they don't share. It's embarrassing to them, because of the stereotypes that's put on people that are homeless or that's going through struggles and things of that nature. And I don't want to. I think Hal's a great person, and he volunteers and stuff a lot. So I don't want to necessarily bash him in any way. But I do think that he is misinformed about our population, where he said that most of our students are not poor, but about 75 to 80% of our students get the Pell Grant, and they're here because of the Pell Grant. And that's based on your either you or your family's financial status, which that is a clear indicator of the student population here. And what was mentioned in the debate, especially from Hal's group and Nia, is the retention, right? And in order to increase retention amongst students, is taking away these other needs and these other barriers that's stopping them from excelling in their courses. And one of those things is, it is a proven statistical study that, people that don't eat, especially in the morning, they don't do as well in their classes. Their grades suffer from that. And just imagine, worrying about where you're going to sleep next night and then having to do a 10-paper report. I would think that taking away, that issue for a student or helping them with that would allow them to focus more on their schoolwork and their academia. So we really want to break these barriers and help all students at UHD.
I actually think that's a great point. I thought the same thing when I was watching the debates. I felt as if the information that he was lacking was too important to be running for such a position like student as SGA president, because of things like things that you mentioned. I, for one, am a recipient of the Pell Grant, and I fit in that category of poor students. So it's important for me to have someone who understands that, who is aware that, sometimes I come to school hungry, and it's important to have things like the pantry or better food options here, to help me concentrate in class. I like to concentrate. I like to study, but you can't do that on an empty stomach.
I don't know. It just seems to be, just some slight contradictions. A lot of things that was brought up is, talking about advocating for students, and only thing we worried about was walk the vote and changing graduation date. But students reached out to us about that issue, and our role as SGA is to advocate for students and liaison with administration to try to help them, make changes. Right. And that was, there's about 500 students that, responded to that survey, and overwhelmingly wanted the graduation date changed. You don't know how many people have came up to me and said, thank you so much. And we had a very, very active senior class with Tara Taylor and Mr. Sharp and Ever Flores, and this is some of our active students. We're gonna be losing a lot of great students, but I'm glad that they're graduating and moving on. But that student population right now is empowered. Yeah. They were celebrating, they're singing the praises of UHD, of actually changing the date and hearing their voices, and they're empowered. You know what I mean? And that is my goal. I want to empower students at UHD to know that you can make a difference. You can make a change. You unify, come together, believe in it, believe in yourself, tap into your passion, and make it happen.
And Things like walk to vote, that was a very positive thing. I think today in an age where we have students that don't vote at all, I know many students on campus who say that they don't vote, and the reasons for not doing so to me aren't that good. But things like walk to vote are a positive thing. Those are things that we need to have done on campus, especially considering the fact that he was running for office, and not think that that's a good thing. You want people to understand how important voting is. So that's a very positive thing.
Yeah, and again lies the contradiction that stated that we don't have enough people in SGA voting and representing the students, but we don't have enough people in the governmental process voting on behalf of the students and behalf of the needs of the people in the community. I believe civic engagement is really important. I mean, that's essentially what we're doing with SGA, representing the students, advocating for change, making changes with administration and working with them. That there's a commonality there, and I believe that is should be one of our chief concerns is making sure to empower students to know that your voice does count, and you need to be, instead of sitting back and complaining about what's going on in our government, to be active and do something about it, to let your voices be heard.
How did post an apology for statements made at the debate on his campaign's Facebook page. And it says, and I'm sorry, Hal, if you were here, we'd ask you directly, but we can only speculate and go off statements that are already in the public domain. It says, in my opinion, the role of SGA should be finding out and responding to student needs. And I mean the entire student body, not just the few that come to the General Assemblies on Fridays. And I think your administration has been particularly responsive, sending out surveys. You know, that was something I hadn't seen in other administrations. And I think you've been pretty interested in students' concerns and taking them seriously. Anytime that I've had concerns with the paper, I know I've come to you and we've sorted it out. So I appreciate that, but it seems like you're doing that pretty well. So I don't see what needs to be changed there.
I don't know. And, this is election, and, people have to, they have to tap into some type of platform and come up with a strategy. And, and they came in with theirs. And, I guess we'll, see how it works out for them. But, I wish them the best. I wish them good luck on the election next week. And, I just hope that students are engaged with the process and base their decisions on, what they believe is needed in SGA and what is needed at this school. So, I think it's hard to put yourself out there for criticisms and to leave yourself vulnerable to other people's opinions. So it's a really a brave thing.
But I just want to say, when you run for office, you open yourself up to that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. When you choose to run for office, you open yourself up to criticism.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I think one characteristic of a good leader is to be able to have a honest opinion and about the things you're doing, and to be able to self-reflect constantly. Constantly sit back and self-reflect. Am I on the same track, the same line that I started at? Right. Am I going the same direction which was envisioned in the beginning? And be able to take criticisms, to be able to hear people out, because although it may seem baseless, perception is everything, right? So it's a challenge, but it's something that it comes with the territory, and you just have to, you work with it and you grow from it, and hopefully within that position, and with all those different dynamics, you're able to grow as a person. And that's what's really important, for us to grow as people, to be able to become the people we envision ourselves to be, and there's so many things that we're blind to within ourselves, right? Like flaws and things. Like if everybody just had a 20/20 vision about everything that's done within themselves, we would all be perfect, right? We would all walk in this just like luminous light of perfection. But it's not the case. We're all human. We all have the same susceptibilities for good and bad, and the same susceptibility to make mistakes. But the difference in that is being able to learn from mistakes, being able to get up when you fall down, and in the case of Hal, with the debate, how he rises and gets up from that, it will be really telling about him.
Well, like you said, the elections are next week, and we do encourage everyone to vote. I'm actually glad that you ran again. I didn't know that you could run again. I don't know if you knew this, but but I called you a lame duck in one of our podcasts. I didn't know that you could run again, so I'm actually, after seeing him, honestly, I have to say that I'm happy that you are running again. Yeah. I do have a question, though. You're running with the same vice president that you from last semester, right?
Correct.
During last semester, he had to resign because of personal issues. Can students be assured that something like that won't happen again during this semester?
Well, to be just completely honest with you, my respect for Weston Gameson, it tripled at when the point that he resigned. Because he ran into a situation where his son, he was a single parent now. His son was in China, but his son had to come back with him to the U.S. So his time that he was able to put forth in the position was very, 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 very limited at that point. And for him, like he could have rode that position out and just kept a stipend and just whatever. It's like. But he stepped down, being responsible, knowing he couldn't give his 100% in what he was doing. But his situation has changed now. His son's going back to China over the summer, and his wife should finally be able to come back in the fall, which she'll come back with the children as well. So it's a different situation. And even in him stepping down, he was still working for SGA. He still was pushing the sustainability and the green initiative. And man, I mean, I've been really impressed with him. He's a good friend of mine, and we don't always see eye to eye. And actually, I like that. I don't want a yes man or somebody that's just like, yeah, sure. I like to be able to get a different perspective, so I can get a different view of things in order to try to make the best decision possible when we're trying to make decisions.
Your current vice president Graham is graduating, correct?
Correct. Graham is awesome. He's he's the coolest guy I know. Really, he's always he seeks the middle ground in everything. If there's contention from one side to the other, he seeks the middle ground, and he just has always this different outlook on people and on life, and it's always so positive and encouraging, and he's really one of my closest friends, and I'm proud to have been working with him and serving with him as in SGA.
Well, describe your interaction with the administration on the daily basis. Skills. This is why I hate reading scripts during the middle of things. Talking about.
Give us a glimpse of what you do on a daily basis. How much time and energy you put into the job of SGA President.
Well, a lot of that comes, like I said before, is generally have 3 to 4 meetings a day with different committees. We have a budgetary committee, the QEP. That was very time consuming actually. Student service fees committees, talking with students, and then making sure that internally in SGA that the initiatives that we set out to do are being worked on correctly. And always got to I trust our members with there are events or initiatives, but I always make sure to follow up and say, hey, did you remember to email this person? Did you reserve this room, or did it's a constantly evaluating how things are going, where we're at, and trying to recruit more people in the SGA so we can have more student representation. Evaluate just structurally and how we operate with things to make sure that what we're doing, we're able to include the most amount of students as possible. Like now we're reevaluating our Friday General Assembly and possibly looking at doing a weekday.
That would be a good idea.
The idea with the Friday was that there's generally no classes on Friday, and I would hate to alienate students just based on them being in class. But then, like I said, we have a different population of students here, so a lot of our students work, and Fridays is one of those key days where students, take advantage of not having classes and being able to work. So, we're reviewing, and we're going to get some data from administration in regards to how many students are taking classes during different times of the day. I'm leaning more towards having like an evening Thursday General Assembly or evening Wednesday General Assembly, get more students involved in the process. The more people you have in SGA, the stronger SGA is, the better the school is. The more the students have a voice and an impact on what's going on at the university, you're going to find out that the better it is, because you create all these different initiatives and resources, the student advocacy and empowerment, and I'm really excited for the next year. Hopefully if things go well, and even if things don't go well, I would go to the Senate and I would show them that you don't need a position in order to get things done. And we have many examples of that within our SGA. So that's one thing I wanted to emphasize. You don't have to wait until you're in a position in order to make things happen. You do not need the position. All you need is the motivation and the passion to do it. And we always have an open door for students that have issues that want to be helped or guided into how do we come up with the solutions, how do I solve this problem, what is the process for that. And that's what we're here for, is to show them that, to highlight the way and empower them to be able to make change within themselves.
I hope everyone votes. I was really disappointed with the turnout of debates. It was really disappointing and sad.
Student activities, they didn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't promoted very well.
That's why we wanted to do this podcast, to try to get more students involved in the discussion. If you have any questions you want to add to the debate, like us on Facebook at Dateline Downtown. You can email me at dateline.editor@yahoo.com or call our office at 713-221-8192. We would welcome you to the debate.
Absolutely, and you can also check us out at Vote Locke Gamingson on Facebook. And definitely, it's always a pleasure coming here and being here. And I really like what you are doing with this podcast. It's really took leaps and jumps. Especially with the graduation day change. That podcast itself had hundreds of views, and I'm glad that we're able, because communication is always an issue within a university, within departments, within administration, within students. Communication is key. that people are on the same page and know what's going on, and y'all are an avenue in which to do that. And I really do thank y'all, because it makes our job that much easier.
Well, again, we thank you for coming. And before we close, I just want to mention to all students, while we have your ear, if you can, make sure to go to the town hall meeting on Tuesday at 7:30 for the open campus carry. Bill, is it a bill yet? Is it still a bill, or is it a law yet? It's not a. It's the campus carry is a bill. It's very important that we talk about things like that. I think that's going to be a very hot topic for a lot of people. So it would be nice to see a big turnout there. But like I said, we thank President Locke for coming, and Dateline looks forward to working with you in the future.
Re-elect Locke. Re-elect Locke Gamerson.
Go Gators.